Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Looseie, and today we're going to be taking a look at Albion Online. Now, if you're wondering, it has been on PC for a few years, and just recently, as in within about a week or two of making this video, it has been launched on mobile, Android OS, and pretty much the whole 9 yards. So the influx of players, there was already a good amount of people playing, but the mobile launch really did boost it. So I think you guys are going to be pleasantly surprised here, and I have to say I am maining the game right now. So let's just jump right into it. Bring me back up. Alright guys, now when it comes to PvP, there's a lot to talk about. I'll start right here with the Corrupted Dungeon. And there's 3 different modes, and this is a 1v1 or, well, just the Corrupted Dungeons. So I'll start with just those. They're 1v1. So I'm going to go ahead and go into a sucker, which, if you get knocked down, it's just, you don't lose gear. You get knocked down in here, you get kicked out the dungeon, you got to go do something else. And once you load in, what you'll do is you'll find this little statue. Now, I want to queue because I want to show you guys some PvP. So when you queue up from this little statue, you guarantee to PvP. If you don't queue, there's a chance you might not get invaded. Now, I was a little surprised on this one because I killed 1 or 2 packs of mobs, and usually this doesn't happen. And then what's going to happen is, like, as you can see, the screen just turned red like that, and that means that, bam, not only did I queue and not go invade someone else, but someone came invade me that quickly. So that means that this person had been in queue. So I'm going to start search for him, and then all of a sudden, as you can see, I'm killing some of the mobs. I'm trying to get into the middle, and then boom, the screen just disappears. Now, it usually happens when you kill your opponent, or in this case, I'm assuming they just left. I don't know why. So anyway, you finish. When you win and you get a little bit of system-generated loot from that person in this form in all the dungeons, and then you kill the main boss and you get some chests, and then you're given the option to either continue on or go back to the surface. I'll just decide to go to the surface. So I was wondering what happened with that fight. But I think the Corrupted Dungeons are a nice little way to get some one-on-one experience, especially moving us away from mobs and traps, which once you start doing ZVZ, you're going to really realize that. Now, this to me is the shining thing they have here. And that longbow, man, that thing is ridiculous. But the ZVZ, or, you know, the Zerg versus Zerg, or faction, they're both kind of the same. In essence, ZVZ is usually 400 people in a clustered map. I don't want to talk about the cluster thing. I think they really need to change that system. The most aggravating thing is playing for like 2 hours to have a 30-second battle, but that's for another video for another day. However, this is on the open map in faction, and we had a really good engagement with our little group. As you can see, I dropped some more arrows on them, and they got clustered really good. So it was a nice pull there. So you're gonna have just, you know, sometimes even in faction versus faction, you'll have the maps get full. Now, I've never experienced myself a cluster queue for one of the maps in just the normal faction, but it has happened, and since the mobile launch, man, there's people everywhere. So I just decided to sacrifice myself because there was people everywhere, and my team got a few more kills. But you know, when you're in a little collective group, you know, in an outpost, you're pushing out. See, we dropped on them again. They all just stood there, and the rain of arrows, it's just, oh, it hurts so much. You know, I think it's a much more team-based oriented game. You do have arena as well. Really, the only 1v1 scenarios you have is the Corrupted Dungeon, the 1v1. Then you have Hell Gates, which you can do 2v2s, you can do 5v5s, you can do 10v10s. Then there's Crystal League Arena, which is, again, 5v5, 10v10s, 20v20s, where you lose all your gear. That's a whole nother section. And then you have the Arena, which is 5v5, which is completely, I don't know if you saw that in my inventory, but I just threw on some like tier 5 and 6 stuff. Because in here you're IP restricted, and your mastery does obviously make you a little bit stronger. And if you go in there with an 8.3, you won't have a noticeable stronger. You won't be noticeably stronger in 8.3 if you would have the mastery for it. Let me rephrase it. When you're in these IP structured environments, and arena happens to be one of them. And it's real simple. It's just a 3-point control. I really wish they would add a few more arena places. I would love to see like a capture the flag mode in arena. They add a few different more arena modes. And I did all right in this one. I was just kind of messing around. I did get top damage, but whatever. And the last thing I want to touch on about PvP is the hideouts and the way that the alliances, kind of the benefits of being, you know, in that. And as you can see in this hideout, this is my guild's hideout for Exile, where you have all the NPCs here that you would in a normal town. So you can do everything here, and you can begin to live out here. The problem is you know, whenever you want to do runs and stuff, you're gonna have to have a little squad to be prepared. So the PvP, I think that's the main point of the game, and just about everything you do is going to revolve around it some way or another. So it's a very PvP heavy game, and the majority of the content is actually really good. Alright guys, now what I wanted to do real quick was just do an extremely fast overview of how the skills work in the game. There's no classes, it's very simple. Basically, every character is an empty shell, and like the ads say, you are what you wear. So you can literally just swap weapons like I'm doing right now, swapping boots, swapping chest, swapping headpiece, and you're given completely different skills. I do have mine hotkeyed a little bit differently, 1 through 6, so mind that, but most people say E, W, Qs, whatever. And because it's you know, the way you play the game. But it's really simple. I think it's really, it seems simple at first, and it can get pretty, you know, pretty hectic, especially once you get into bigger battles. But it does give you the option to heal for, you know, in one instance, then you can tank in the other instance, and you can be a DPS in the other instance, and it's only about how proficient you are with whatever gear you have. So you can eventually be a jack of all trades. I think it's a pretty legit system. And I also want to touch on the map real quick, because I think it's very important of how the game world works. Now, what you see here on screen is the Royal Continent, and now I've just turned it into faction warfare, so you can see the 5 different factions on screen. And basically what happens is that you fight for territory to get more territory throughout the season, and you get points, and of course it's just something else to get gear and to get, you know, recognition and all that other stuff. And of course I think faction versus faction is very fun. I think it's really good. So you have the blue zones, which are completely safe. You have the yellow zones, which are safe in essence, you can get knocked down. And then like around here at Camelot, however you say it, whatever, you have the red zones and like the black zones, and when you go north to the Outlands, where when you get knocked down in PvP, there is no such thing as knocked down. You die, and you're going to lose everything you had on you and everything you had in your inventory. So that's the name of the game. So once you get out here to the Outlands and you get to the black zones, once you're here in the red zone, only red flag players can attack you. In a black zone, when you're, say, like you're doing, you know, if you guys are going doing Morgana, one of the world bosses, anyone who's not in your alliance can attack you, and everyone's always flagged, and there's no reputation penalty or anything for killing you in a black zone. It's full-blown, full loot PvP with no penalties. The only way you couldn't attack somebody in the black zone is if they were either in your party or in your alliance. That's about it. And then you can, well, you can still, yeah. Anyway, the point is, I think that system and the way the map's set up between the tiers, that's how content gets shifted. And then moving right along to this is I think I'm in the yellow zone, one of the tier 5 dungeons when I'm doing this, and this is one of the solo dungeons. And this is what you'll be doing probably on your downtime when you're by yourself, to either fame up or get money or do both. As you can see, I'm faction flagged while I'm doing this. Or am I faction flagged? I better be. I should be, because you get extra points while you're representing the faction or in whatever activities you may be doing. So as you can see, this was a legendary chest. It's the best chest. I got like 150k from that one. So it wasn't it wasn't a bust, but it was a pretty good chest, at least, you know, for decent amounts of money. It only took me a few seconds to kill this boss. Saved about 5 minutes to do a dungeon. Anyway, these are some of the things you'll be finding yourself doing a lot of. Is you're going to be farming either this, or you'll be doing, hopefully, what you can find yourself a nice little group of friends or a guild that's active. And then you can start partaking in the group content. And once you get to tier 5 content, yeah, the fame isn't as good as tier 7 and tier 8 black zones. Like now what we're doing, this is one of the black zone tier 7 tier 8 group dungeon, but the mobs are a lot harder, and yes, you do need a full group when you start getting to tier 8, especially maps and higher, like 8.1 and whatnot. But the point is, you do gain fame more faster, and you can level things up a lot quicker. You know, you just have to be ready. Like, for instance, in this particular run, you know, we thought we were going to get, or someone was going to come raid us. I mean, you never know, because you always can be. So there's always going to be divers, is what they're called, which will be dungeon divers that are coming in there just to kill the group that's doing the PvE content. And that's something, you know, that's just part of the game. So if that's not your cup of tea, you know, red and black zones, those are the things you cannot avoid in those two types of zones. You know, we didn't have any problem here. We ended up going through a 4th floor dungeon. So I think the PvE, along with solo and the group dungeoning, and the solo and the group, excuse me, like the little hell gates that you have for the PvP, there's also open world bosses in some of the higher end tier zones, like 5+. So there's a lot of open world content, and they are bringing some more stuff in with this next recent patch to make open world kind of more alive again. I know open world, it's not just this game that it's unique to, that those kind of things that suffer. So hopefully we'll get some more of that. And then the last thing I want to touch on, I know it's a lot, I'm trying to, and there's even some other stuff I haven't touched on, was the expeditions here. And this is the one completely safe content that you can do in the game. You can either do solos, or you can do it with a group of 5, and then I'll show you here in a second, you can go to the marketplace and you can actually buy maps which go past tier 6. You can go up to, I think, 20 now, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry. And you can, and that's difficulty. It ranks the difficulty of the map that you're going to be doing. And obviously, the higher difficulty, the better chance for rewards and fame and all that good stuff. And then you have maps for solo dungeons, which are what you find outside in the world. And those would be the little green kind of caves that you find. And then, of course, the yellow caves, like you said in the PvP section, that's for your corrupted dungeons, which that is a 1 versus 1 scenario with their mobs in there too, like we talked about earlier. So there's a lot of stuff to do. I mean, in fact, there's some things I still haven't touched, but I'm trying to keep the video short. So there you guys go. Alright guys, now when it comes to grind, or what you're going to be doing in your downtime or spending a lot of time on, we'll start right here with the Destiny board. And as you can see, this is what you're going to be, this is your progression system in the game. In essence, it's for your combat and also for your gathering and for your crafting. And it is daunting at first, I know that, when you first see it, especially the first time you play the game, you're like, holy crap, this is a lot of different stuff. And it gets much more simpler as you continue to play the game. In essence, you have 7 specializations in combat and 7 specializations in gathering and crafting. For the most part, in gathering and crafting, some don't go all the way down. You'll see later on. But in essence, for the main part of the things you're going to be doing, especially combat, you have 7 different weapons and armors, specialization types for leather, for plate, and for cloth. And then you also have 7 different types of weapons for, like, say, bow. A bow has 7 subclass bows. Like you can see here, as you can see, fishing, if you look at it right, I moved a little too fast there, but if you look at it, you saw that one stopped at that tier. That's one of the gatherings that doesn't go all the way down to tier 8. And then you get on the right side of your Destiny board, and then you're going to have all of your crafting things. And this is where you're going to put, usually you'll save your learning points for crafting, because it's sometimes crafting can be a little bit more difficult, because gaining combat fame, pretty much you get that in everything you do in the game. So, and then you can dump learning points, which you get every day from your premium, and you get more if you get premium, and you get a little bit every day just for, like, I think, what is it, 10 or something? Don't quote me on that, I couldn't tell you exactly. I've had premium the whole time, but anyway. And then you can use combat fame once you max something out from all the way to 100, from 0 to 100. That's considered an item being max. Once you get there, you start getting combat fame, and then with that combat fame, it's twice as much as the original fame you would have got. So you can use, in essence, you can use your 100 max set to level up another set that you haven't maybe equipped yet. So I think it's a decent little system. And then we move on to the gathering aspect. And what I'm doing right now is just fishing. And I'm just in a tier 5 yellow zone. I'm trying to get to the tier 6. So I'm trying, and I know you can eat the fish and just level up fishing. But hey, I wanted to get some seaweed and try and make some you know, tier. I think I was gonna make some tier 1 cabbage soup. I don't even know why. But the point is, you know, when you're doing all your gathering and your crafting, the majority of it obviously will be out in the open world when you're doing that. Now, they do have farming on your island, which we'll get to in a second, but it's, you know, simple things like this. You have your fishing, you have your tree chopping, you know, mining, stone mining, kind of the generic things. And as you go through the different tiers of zones, you're able to get the higher tier materials to make your tier 4, tier 5, tier 6, tier 7, tier 8 equipment, which is, you know, in game, tier 8 is the highest tier in the game. And fishing, this is one of the things. I was doing fishing and wood chopping, but I've kind of, because when I moved away from Limhurst, so I kind of swapped everything, and it was, I'm just kind of giving everything a shot. I know it's not the best thing to do, but whatever. So whatever gathering or whatever crafting you do decide to do, you for the most part, you're going to have a lot of time sink to put into it. And that's kind of the point, in essence, of this game, because like we, you know, mentioned in the PvP section, you losing gear and being able to quickly re-gear yourself, that's kind of part of the game when you get all the way into it. So you want to have some kind of system where you can, you know, in their downtime, make safe money, or just have some passive income coming in. And a lot of people use their islands for that. All right, now once you get to the islands, or your own personal island, or you can make guild islands, your own guild island, alt guild islands. Some people have ridiculous amounts of alts that have nothing but islands, and all they do is grow cabbage, and you can do that. I mean, I wouldn't recommend that unless you have, obviously, the time to do it. Anyway, the point is, you can set, you know, even these things up, and like what I'm showing right now, this is my cabbage, and it takes roughly 24 hours for it to grow. So you pick it, and then once you pick it, or first you got to buy it and then plant it, and then water it, gives you extra seed yield, so that so you don't have to keep buying seeds. Normally what you do is you would do a one-time purchase of your seeds, and then you would never have to buy them again, because as you water them with focus, you get those more seeds back. And then what I do is a few days I wait, and then I make a few, you know, quite a few dozen cabbage soups, and then, you know, maybe make a meal or two depending on the market, maybe less depending on what I was selling. If it was, you know, I use fish oil to, you know, bump up from a flat cabbage soup to, like, say a 4.1, which it makes it a little bit better food. So and then you have the workers too. I'm sorry, oh boy, I almost forgot about that. You can see them right here, my little fishers. Now, I've swapped around workers. I've tried all different stuff. I've done mercenaries. I still have a few. I've done lumberjacks. I've done the crop farmer person, which I thought would have been for in there. It was not. That's for pretty much all your work is you fill up with journals from other activities that you do, and then you give them the journal, and then 24 hours later they come back with some form of reward. As you can see, that mercenary just gave me 1,700 silver, 1,746, whatever, and the journal I gave him was worth like 5,000 just for him to go out there. So they really need to do something about those mercenaries. They're honestly useless to do, or it's anyway. The point is, for most other laborers, they bring you back stuff at the end of that time frame, just like the mercenaries, except like my fishermen would bring me back a whole bunch of fish. So there's so many different things when it comes to just the farming. And then the last thing that you would have when it comes to, I guess, what you're going to probably be spending your time on, if you're into it, if you're gathering and crafting is your thing, obviously, is what you see on our screen. I'm trying to highlight the crafting stations in town. Now, I'm in Thetford right now, and I'm going to go to one of the huntsman stations where I was learning how to make bows, and that's what I was doing when I first started. I kind of stopped in the middle right now. But this is where you would make all your, you know, tier 2 and up to 8 crafting things. Now, I don't particularly like the way that that people can charge so much, and that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother discussion about how all the crafting stations work. But just in a simple overview is, when you go to craft an item, if you have the availability in your destiny board, you know you have the skill level, you can make a flat whatever, like a 4-0 or 4-1-2-3, like you just saw on the screen, and that would make it more powerful. That's when you see in chat people say looking for 4.1, 4.2, whatever. The 0.2 would be what was the tier of the material, with like the tier of the item that was made. So it gets very complicated. All right, guys. So this should be a pretty quick section. The cash shop is here in Albion's is actually pretty simple. There's a few cosmetic items that they do sell and a few little bundles of cosmetics, and the rest is either you can buy some gold or you can get your premium, or you can buy some gold and then save it and then get your premium as you want, or you're given the option to get premium, which is kind of like the subscription. It does help out. I can't lie about that, especially the island and the fame bonus. And kind of the rest of the bonuses, but the gathering, it helps out a lot. But they do give you the option, as you can see here on the screen, where you're given the ability to choose, and you can either open up your wallet, or you can play the game and use silver, and then you can also keep getting more and more silver, and then you can buy gold and vice versa. So it kind of like Guild Wars 2 in that sense, where yes, there is a cash shop currency, but you're given the opportunity to be able to get the cash shop currency. I really like that as a monetization. Well, let me rephrase. I don't really like it, but I think of monetization policies, that is a better route for some places to go, because it gives players an option to still be able to get things without having to spend hundreds of dollars, maybe just hundreds of hours. So alright guys, so my final thoughts on Albion, I have to say it's actually a very solid game, especially for being a free-to-play title. Can you advance if you spend money? Sure. There's a skill level, there's a skill gap. Eventually, you're going to hit a vertical progression limit, and you're going to be forced to go horizontal, and there'll be no more vertical progression for you to go. So eventually, the playing field levels out no matter what, especially the longer you've been playing. So I think overall, it's actually a really good game. Are there some things I like to see change? Of course, but I mean, not everything's perfect. And they do plan on bringing some big changes here in the near future, coming along with these Seasons of Arms they've been doing. And hopefully, they've been claiming that later this year, we should be getting a really big content patch. So we'll see. I just want to thank everybody. Everything's been working really well on the channel. And if you found any of this information useful or helpful, please thumbs up and subscribe. Or if you didn't, give a thumbs down. Leave a comment, whatever you guys want to see next, or any things that you would like to see, maybe from Albion. It's like I said, I am maining it right now. So if you want a guide or something, please let me know. Leave something down in the comments below. And until next time, I'll see y'all again.